to talk about the situation.
It is all the way rubbish, bro.
Going on in Michigan.
Skip to the Pope section of this convo. Hold up. Skip to the Pope convo, the Pope Leo versus Trump convo. Boom.
There are some on the right that are very upset with President Trump.
Rightfully so. Rightfully so. Justly so.
I'm not a Catholic. I don't care what Trump says about the Pope. I quite frankly don't care what he says on social media at all. I don't.
Crazy. Yeah.
There are some on the right that are very upset with President Trump versus the
Everybody should be upset.
Now, Dinesh,
everybody with a soul and a brain should be upset.
Trump says about the Pope. I quite frankly don't care what he says on social media.
Trump mocked Christians.
I don't care
he
if
mocked
he says the
Christianity,
F word. I don't
bro.
care if he says
he mocked Jesus Christo.
None of that bothered.
It doesn't matter what your religion is, what religion you follow. It doesn't matter if you are a believer or not, bro. What he did was mockery. What he did was disrespect. You have to keep it all the way a buck. You have to be good faith. You have to be laudable. You have to be you must be honorable when you discuss this, bro. You really do. This bloke is not a believer, but this bloke, Devo, he's not a believer. I don't have to be a believer to see that this is disrespect. This is mockery. This is mockery of Christianity and of Christians, of Catholics, this is mockery of Catholics, bro. Salutes to the Catholics who had the spine and the backbone to oppose Trump publicly. The Carries, the certain multiple other people. Salute to them for having the guts, the spines, and the backbones to publicly oppose this BS. Salute to those people for having the backbones, the spines, and the guts to oppose this BS. Salute to them for having. Salute to these people for having. Salute to these people for having the guts. Salute to these people for having the guts, the spines, and the backbones to oppose this BS publicly.
That they're essentially using as the butt of a joke, which I think is disgusting. And it's one thing if you're just a Lance. None of that bothers me because I know how President Trump operates, and I don't care what Trump says about the Pope.
Wow.
Now, Dinesh, I'm not a Catholic.
She's overt with the
Trump says
lack of care, so
I quite frankly don't care what he
praise
says
to
on
her.
social media
Credits
at
to
all.
her for the
I don't care if he
overtness.
says the F word.
Credits to her for her overtness, but it is trash. It is garbage.
Media
it is
all.
Terrible.
I don't care if he says the F word.
This is crazy,
he's
bro.
Gonna blow up bridges.
This is crazy.
Media at all. I don't care if he says the F word. There are some on the right that are very upset with President Trump versus the Pope. Now, Dinesh, I'm not a Catholic.
You don't have to be. It is irrelevant. Your religion, your religious belief,
I frankly don't care
your
what
religious
he says on social media at all.
membership is irrelevant.
If he says the F word. I don't care
what your religion is, what your denomination of Christianity is irrelevant. What's your denomination? What's your denomination of Christianity is irrelevant.
I know how President Trump
wrong is wrong. Detestable is detestable.
I don't care if he says he's going to blow up bridges and power plants.
Tomi, she's being Yeah,
Now,
Tomi is a
Dinesh,
clown,
I'm not
bro.
a
She's a
Catholic.
clown.
I don't care what Trump says about the Pope.
Of course you don't, because
Now,
you are
Dinesh,
a
I'm not a
puppet.
Catholic.
You are a lick
I
spittle
don't care
of Trump's.
what Trump
Of
says
course
about
you
the Pope.
don't.
I quite frankly don't care what he says on social media at all. I don't care if he says the F word. I don't care if he says he's going to blow up bridges and power plants.
Despicable
None
stuff.
of that bothers me
This
because
is
I know how President
despicable.
Trump operates.
This
And
lack of care, it is all the way despicable, bro. It is all the way despicable.
I mean, these are young kids that they're essentially using. Now, Dinesh,
But
I'm
at
not a
least
Catholic.
she's overt
I don't
with
care
the
what Trump says about the Pope.
despicable lack
I
of
quite
care.
frankly don't care what he says on social media at all. I don't care if he says the F word. I don't care
You
if
don't
he says
care
he's
if
gonna
he threatens to eliminate a whole nation of people, including innocent people. Yeah, it is crazy. It is devilish.
care what
You don't care if
Trump
he
says about the
threatens
Pope. I quite frankly don't care what he says
to
on social media at all. I
eradicate
don't
a
care if
whole
he says the
nation
F
of
word.
people.
I don't care if he says he's going to
If
blow
he
up bridges
commits
and power plants.
turpitude,
None of
you
that
don't care
bothers
if he
me
does
because I know how
turpitude.
President Trump operates.
You really don't care
And
if he does
I don't see a
turpitude.
problem with it. It doesn't ruffle my feathers. There are some
Terrible,
on the
terrible,
right who are
terrible.
very upset. See a problem with it? It doesn't ruffle my feathers. There plants. None of that bothers me because I know how President Trump operates.
There's no justification. Just because you know how he operates, this doesn't mean it is justifiable for him to do certain things. Like just because you know how he operates, just because you know how he operates, this doesn't mean it is justifiable for him to do certain things, like threaten to eradicate a whole nation of people, to slander the Pope and say he's certain things for opposing war, for being logical, for being moral, for saying logical-ish, what everybody should be in opposition to. Unnecessary, unlawful war. Anybody with a brain and a heart anybody with a heart and a brain should say unlawful war is terrible, unnecessary war. Anybody with a brain and a heart should say unnecessary and unlawful war is terrible all the way.
You're just a podcaster.
This isn't political. This isn't partisan. This is logical, moral. This is
office. So we got some real concerns
rational-ish.
Just in general. There are on the right are right, or do you think they're overreacting? I don't care what Now, Dinesh, I'm not a Catholic.
Who cares?
I don't care what Trump says about the Pope. I quite frankly don't care what he says on social media at all.
You are
a
puppet.
This is
the reason.
I don't care if he says he's going to blow up
Of course
bridges
you don't.
and power plants.
Of course you don't.
None of that
you
bothers
are
me
a shield.
Because I know how President Trump operates.
A lick spittle, a lackey,
I don't
a
see
minion.
a problem with it. It doesn't ruffle my feathers. There are some on the right who are very upset that he seems to have harsh words
empathy for
the
these
Pope.
people.
Some people see the Pope, as a second god. I don't. But what do you make of this? And do you think that the voices on the right
have real
right?
empathy for these people, not what woke people perceive to be empathetic? Have real empathy, not what woke people see as empathy. Have real empathy. Have genuine empathy for these people.
As a second god, I don't. But what do you make of that, Lance? None of that bothers me because I know how President Trump operates, and I don't see a problem with it. It doesn't ruffle my feathers. There are some on the right who are very upset that he seems to have harsh words for the Pope. Some people see the Pope, as
she's
a second
euphemizing.
God. I don't.
Harsh, nah, abusive. It is beyond harsh, bro. It is abusive. It is abusive.
Seems to have harsh words for the Pope.
It is unfair.
Some people see the Pope, as a second God.
Vituperative.
I don't.
It is
But
obloquious.
what do you make of this? And do you
Not.
think that
It is
the
beyond
voices on the
harsh,
right
bro.
are right?
It is
Or do you think
beyond
they're
harsh,
overreacting?
bro. It is
I think that
beyond
the voices on
harsh.
the right
It is
are
beyond
taking
harsh.
the
It is
cue.
beyond harsh.
On the
It
right
is
are
beyond
right? Or do you
harsh.
think they're overreacting?
It is beyond
I think
harsh.
that the voices on the right are
On the right are right? Or do you think they're overreacting?
I think that the voices on the right are
On the right are right? Or do you think they're overreacting?
I think that the voices on the right are taking the cue, unfortunately, from the left. So the left is
Here we
trying
go.
to
Here we go.
play this up.
Yeah.
They're trying to highlight this big
The left
clash
versus
between
right.
Trump and the Pope.
BS,
And
bro.
quite frankly, they're trying to
Immature,
use the Pope
puerile.
as a battering ram against Trump. They don't
Low vibrational.
the Pope is a
Yeah, this is crazy, bro. Dinesh
are
Diffuser.
taking
You can
the
always
cue,
rely.
unfortunately,
You
from the
can
left. So the
always
left is
rely
trying
on
to
this
play
bozo
this
to
up.
do the
They're
left
trying to
versus
highlight
right.
this big
BS,
clash
bro.
between Trump and the Pope.
He's
And
goofy.
quite
He's
frankly, they're
goofy.
trying
He's
to
goofy.
use the Pope as
He's
a
goofy.
battering ram
He's
to
goofy.
play this up. They're trying to
As a second God. I
Dinesh, the
don't. But
Pooza.
what do you make
He's
of
morally
this? And do you
poo.
think
He's
that the voices on the
morally
right
poo.
are right? Or do you
Dinesh,
think
the
they're
Pooza.
overreacting?
I think that the
F this
voices on
dudes.
the right are taking the cue, unfortunately, from the left. So the left is trying to play this up. They're trying to highlight this big clash between Trump and the Pope. And quite frankly, they're trying to use the Pope as a battering ram against Trump. They don't like the Pope.
Certain
the Pope
people,
is a little too culturally
many
conservative. He's
many
pro-life, he's
lefties, yes.
trans.
Many lefties, yes. They're dishonest. They're manipulative. They're hypocritical. Yes, I agree. We agree. We converge. Yes, we agree. But to say all lefties are hypocritical just because you don't align with them politically is bad faith and all the way rubbish. It is what it is.
The Pope is a little too culturally conservative. He's pro-life. He's anti-trans. He's against alternative lifestyles. The Pope is not their man. The Pope is a little too culturally conservative. He's pro-life. Are taking the cue, unfortunately, from the left. So the left is trying to play this up.
Here we
They're
go.
trying to highlight this big clash between Trump and the Pope. And quite frankly, they're trying to use the Pope as a battering ram against Trump. They don't like the Pope. The Pope is a little too culturally conservative.
Certain lefties do use the Pope, Pope Leo as a pawn, yes. He's a pawn to them.
But they will use
But
anyone they can
to make monolithic remarks is crazy.
Between Trump and the Pope. And quite frankly, they're trying to use the Pope as a battering ram against Trump. They don't like the Pope. The Pope is a little too culturally conservative. He's pro-life. He's trans. He's against alternative lifestyles. The Pope is not their man. But they will use anyone they can as long as they can use it as a sort of sword with which to skewer
weapon.
Trump. Now, I was no fan of Francis, who was just a straight down the line leftist, liberation theology, socialism, all that stuff that came out of the ferment of Latin America and South America. This Pope, I think, is not so bad. By the way, he's a registered Republican. And not only that, but we know for a fact that he requested an absentee ballot to vote, probably, I would guess, for Trump in the 2024 election. So the Pope is quite conservative on the important things that we need a Pope to be conservative on. We don't really care what the Pope thinks about gun control or, what tax rates should be. The Pope is conservative on all the important moral issues that are connected with Christianity and the Bible. Trump, on the other hand, is Trump. If you say something about Trump, however,
he's fragile. Trump is fragile.
He's going
he has
to make all kinds of accusations. His
he's
was
easily
a
offended.
bit
He's
outlandish,
easily
where he
angered.
said things like, the Pope
He's
says Iran, he
he's
doesn't mind if
irascible.
Iran ends
He's
up nuclear
easily
weapons. The Pope never
irritated.
said
He's too sensitive.
make all kinds of accusations.
It is understandable, yes. A lot of people have unfairly criticized him before, slandered him, slandered him, yes.
So you've got this
But
kind of somewhat blown up type of contrast. I agree with you. I think it's going to blow over. And I also think that the distance
go against everybody who's criticizing you as if they're all unfair, as if they're all being nasty to you or being dishonest is crazy.
So you've got this kind of somewhat blown up type
You
of
have to be able
contrast.
to handle
I agree with
different
you. I think it's gonna
opinions,
blow
but he
over.
can't. He
And I
wants
also think that the
complete
distance between the
servility,
Pope and
complete
Trump, they have different
slavishness,
jobs, of
complete
course. The Pope's job
unctuousness, complete toadyishness.
The Pope says Iran, he doesn't mind if Iran has a nuclear weapon. The Pope never said anything
if
like
you don't
that. So you've got this kind of somewhat
obsequiously
blown up
agree
type
with
of
everything
contrast.
he
I
says,
agree with
he
you. I think
deems
it's
you to be traitorous. He deems you to be he if you don't simp for him, he deems you to be if you don't simp for this dude, he labels you the op. He labels you the enemy. He labels you a lunatic. He thinks you are kooky. This is what he labeled Tuck when he this is what he labeled Tuck for after Tuck said critical and denunciatory things pertaining to Iran, the Iran war.
The important things that we need a Pope to be conservative on. We don't really care what the Pope thinks about gun control or, what tax rates should be. The Pope is conservative on all the important moral issues that are connected with Christianity and the Bible. Trump, on the other hand, is Trump. If you say something about Trump, however, he's going to jump in.
But he has to be tougher. Trump has to be tougher.
His post on the Pope was a bit outlandish.
You have to be tough.
He said things like, the Pope says Iran, he doesn't mind if Iran has with Christianity, what tax rates should be. The Pope is conservative on all the important moral issues that are connected with Christianity and the Bible.
You can't evade criticism just because you have a certain title or whatever. Nobody's above criticism. Not even the POTUS is not immune to criticism just because he's Trump.
The Pope never said anything like that. So you've got this kind of if you say something about
people
Trump,
will
however,
criticize you. It is what it is.
He's going to jump in.
You have to be tough.
To make all kinds of
you can't be fragile and label everybody the enemy. You can't label everybody the op. You can, but you would be wrong. You would be untruthful.
Make all kinds of accusations. His post on the Pope was a bit outlandish, where he said things like, make all kinds of accusations. His post. If you say something about Trump, however, he's going to jump in. He's going to make what tax rates should be. The Pope is conservative on all the important moral issues that are connected with Christianity and the Bible. Trump, on the other hand, is Trump. If you say something about Trump, however, he's going to jump in. He's going to make all kinds of accusations.
Yeah.
His post
but it isn't justifiable, though.
Like,
yes, this is true, but it isn't justifiable.
The Pope says Iran.
You are justifying the BS.
Never said anything like that.
You don't want to lose certain connections, certain fans, access. You don't want to lose these things, so you continue to be a fawner, to a kiss, to be a freaking puppet. You suck.
What tax rates
Dinesh the
important moral issues that are connected with Christianity and the Bible. Trump, on the other hand, is Trump. If you say something
this is
about
soft.
Trump,
This
however,
is poltron-ish, bro. This is invertebrate-ish.
His post on
Trump
the Pope
is
was
Trump.
a bit outlandish, where he said things
crazy.
like, the Pope says Iran, he doesn't mind if Iran has a nuclear weapon. The Pope never said anything like that. So you've got this kind of somewhat blown up type of contrast. I agree with you. I think it's going to blow over. And I also think that the distance between the Pope and Trump, they have different jobs, of course. The Pope's job is universal.
Yeah, Dinesh, he's pathetic, bro.
The Pope says
he's very pathetic.
Iran has a nuclear weapon. The Pope never said anything
He's
like
never.
that. So
he doesn't have the bravery to be all the way real with Trump, because he will lose certain people, bro.
They have different jobs, of course. The Pope's
FDBS,
job
bro.
is universal.
You have to have integrity. If
think
you
the
lose
distance
certain
between
people,
the
it
Pope
is
and
what it
Trump,
is, bro.
they have different jobs, of course. The Pope's job is universal.
Break free
The
from
Pope's job
the
is to put a moral lens on things. Trump's job is to get things done. So part of this is they just have different So you've got this kind of somewhat blown up type
cease
of
being
contrast.
a slave
I agree
to
with you. I
people's
think it's going to blow
opinions.
over. And I also think that the distance between the
Stop
Pope
doing
and Trump,
things for
they have different
validation.
jobs, of course. The Pope's
Stop
job
doing
is
things
universal.
for
The Pope's job
validation,
is to put a moral
approval.
lens on things. Trump's job is to
Cease
get
the
things done.
pandering
So part of
and
this is they just
the
have
A
different
kissing and the finery of this cretinous POS Trump.
So you've got this kind of somewhat
Cease the
blown up
pandering
type of
and
contrast. I
the
agree with you. I
fawning
think it's going to
and
blow over. And I
the
also
A
think that the
kissery.
distance between the Pope and Trump, they have different jobs.
Cease the
of course. The Pope's
sycophancy.
job
Cease
is
the
universal. The
slavishness.
Pope's job is
Cease
to put
the
a moral lens on
lickspittleness.
things. Trump's job is to get things done. So part of the different jobs, of course. The
Cease
Pope's
the
job
glazing
is
and
universal.
over
The Pope's job is to
praising
put a moral
of
lens
this
on things.
cretinous
Trump's job is to get things
POS
done. So
Trump.
part of this is they just have different portfolios. Moral lens on things. Trump's job is to make all kinds of accusations. His post on the Pope was a bit outlandish, where he said things like, the Pope says Iran, he doesn't mind if Iran has a nuclear weapon.
is
the Pope never said anything
euphemism.
like that.
It is
so you've got this
euphemistic
kind of
language.
blown up type
A
of
bit
contrast.
a bit
I agree with you. I think it's gonna
outlandish.
blow over.
It's
And I
euphemistic
also think that
language.
the distance
You poltroon.
between the Pope and Trump,
It is.
they have
It
different
was
jobs,
very
of course. The Pope's job
not
is
just a bit.
universal. The Pope's job is to put a moral lens. I think that the distance
Dinesh,
between the Pope and Trump, they have
Dinesh,
different jobs.
he
of
kills
course.
me,
the
bro.
Pope's job is universal. The Pope's job is to put a moral lens on things. Trump's job is. So you've got this kind of somewhat blown up type of contrast. I agree with you. I think it's going to blow over. And I also think that the distance between the Pope and Trump, they have different jobs, of course. The Pope's job is universal. The Pope's job is to put a moral lens on things. Trump's job is to get things done. So part of this is they just have different portfolios. But I don't think they're quite as far apart as people think.
I don't either, and the Pope probably feels some need to be a little bit more progressive in order to appease those
He's
that
just
are more
telling the
progressive
truth.
in
He's
the
just
Catholic Church. So
saying logical-ish.
Maybe it's just
It is wrong to do unnecessary and unlawful war. It is wrong to kill innocent people. It is wrong to do these things.
Folios.
This isn't.
But I don't think they're
It
quite as
isn't
far apart as
progressive.
people think.
You don't have to be a progressive to say these things. You don't have to be a wokey to say these things. You don't have to be a progressive to say these things. It isn't partisan or political.
Maybe that has something to
To
do
be
with it.
anti-war, to be anti-unlawful war,
because there's an expectation
to be
that he should,
anti-unnecessary, and
that he's conservative.
it is not progressive. It is not partisan. It is not political to be anti-unlawful and anti-unnecessary war.
Need to be a little bit more progressive.
There's no. He doesn't feel the need to be progressive. He doesn't feel the need to be progressive.
Maybe it's just giving lip service to some of these things because there's an expectation that he should.
I get what she's saying, but
service to some of these
he
things
doesn't feel the need to be progressive.
Maybe just spell
This
that he's
is
conservative.
logical-ish. This is moral-ish.
President Trump will go after
Political
Rosie
party,
O'Donnell, he'll go after the Pope,
political
he'll go after Tucker,
persuasion
he'll go
matters
after the
not.
left, he'll go after
Political
anybody that comes
stripe
after him.
matters
So I think
not.
there should just be an understanding.
Political affiliation matters not. Political affiliation matters not.
Service to some of these things.
Political persuasion, political affiliation matters not.
Again, President Trump will go after Rosie O'Donnell. He'll go after, maybe just spell that he's conservative because you can't be that. Again, President Trump will go after Rosie O'Donnell. He'll go after the Pope. He'll go after Tucker. He'll go after the left. Maybe just spell that he's conservative because you can't be that. Again, need to be a little bit more progressive. In order to appease those that are more progressive in the Catholic Church. So maybe that has something to do with it. Maybe it's just giving lip service to some of these things because there's an expectation that he should. Maybe just spell that he's conservative because you can't be that. Again, President Trump will go after Rosie O'Donnell. He'll go after the Pope. He'll go after Tucker. He'll go after the left, the right. He'll go after anybody that comes after him. So
True,
I think there should just
but
be an understanding
this
that this
doesn't
is how he
mean
operates,
everything
and to get
he's
so
saying
upset
in
about it every time he
response
does it.
is justifiable or
Maybe dispel that
fair.
he's conservative, because you can't be that. Again, President Trump will go after Rosie O'Donnell. He'll go after the Pope. He'll go after Tucker. He'll go after the left, the right. He'll go after anybody that comes after him. So I think there should just be an understanding that this is how he operates, and to get so upset about it every time he does it, I think is foolish. This is
I
President
agree.
Trump.
When it comes to certain people who are upset, there is dishonesty within those people. Yes, within certain people who are so enraged, incensed. There is dishonesty within certain people who are so incensed. Yes, but to make it seem like everybody who's incensed is dishonest or fake is crazy.
Operates, and to get so upset about it every time he does it, I think is foolish. This is President Trump.
Certain things
A decade in,
warrant
some people are confused by this.
Ire.
Also, the Catholic Church has its own
detestation, opposition, denunciation. Certain things Trump does do warrant
so you can't deny
harsh criticism. So
operates, and to get so upset
we have
about
to be
it
fair.
every time he does it.
But
I
get what
this is
you
President
are
Trump.
saying.
A
Yes.
decade